Hey, what's up everyone? This is Silver Slayer. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, silver stackers across the world. I have put together another incredible video. You don't want to miss this stuff. You got to stay tuned in because we're going to be diving deep. We're going to dissect this topic of undervalued silver, cheap silver, and if it really does matter. Before we jump into this, I got a couple things I want to say. Make sure you're subscribed. In 200 subscribers, I'm going to be doing my 45,000 subscriber silver giveaway, so it's coming up pretty soon. You don't want to miss that, trust me. I'm also doing a 47,000 subscriber silver giveaway and a 50,000 subscriber silver giveaway. Yes, I give away a lot of silver. It definitely puts a dent in my silver stack, but I want to also give to you guys. You know, you guys mean the world to me, and I wouldn't have any of that silver without you guys because the silver stacking community is how I even found out about silver. I also have another announcement. I started a second channel. YouTube has this new beta form called Shorts where you can post 15, 30-second clips, and you should subscribe to that if you want to see my actual silver stack. I'm going to be posting a lot of my favorite silver coins, some of my rare silver coins, all types of stuff. I'm so excited to show you guys some of the cool silver that I have. And yeah, but I can also post other stuff. I caught my daughter's first word on camera. I'm going to be posting stuff throughout my day, so you definitely don't want to miss that. Also, if you guys want to support this channel one step further, I have a PayPal and my Bitcoin address in the description below. You really don't have to, you don't have to donate, but it really would be appreciated. Watching the videos is more than enough, but that's just another way to support the channel one step further. With that said, let's jump into this video. Our silver price is really cheap, and most importantly, does it matter? This article gets a little sticky, and I'm going to be breaking a lot of this down because, once again, these articles don't give much context. We're going to be talking a lot about the gold to silver ratio, silver's price, comparing it to gold's price, and a lot of other things. But first, see, I covered this article. I looked into this, and they definitely say a lot of controversial stuff. I mean, look at the first sentence. The proponents of silver and their expectations for much higher prices have talked for years about the reason silver is undervalued. But that's their words, not mine. So he's saying, I've never said that silver is undervalued, which if you look at the gold to silver ratio, which is 65 to 1, it's blatantly obvious that silver is undervalued. If you think that 65 ounces of silver isn't, or that is an actually good deal for 1 ounce of gold, then you're crazy. It means you don't understand silver's true value. And it's interesting because the gold to silver ratio, backdating the last 5,000 years, is actually around 8 to 1, 16 to 1. It wasn't till 1930. So around 91 years ago, silver was actually 16 to 1. But FDR got in office in 1930, changed the gold to silver ratio from 16 to 1 to 75 to 1. He single-handedly devalued silver. Until then, or actually for the last 100 years, 95% of the time silver's been under $20. 95% over the last century, silver's been under $20. That's insane to think about. But anyways, let's keep going on. I love talking about the gold to silver ratio, and I'm glad that they bring this aspect in the first part of this article. So whether it is a deficit in new production of silver or the gold to silver ratio, there's always something to talk about. So let's talk. So below is a chart source of silver prices for the past century. I also want to show this real quick. Before we jump into that, look at the 3-month chart for silver. It was down to around $24, and look at this upward momentum. Look at this. That is something that we really need to put in perspective. A lot of times people forget about how silver is actually up extremely high right now, comparing that to, if you really want to be honest, last time silver was $50. And what led silver to $50 back then is happening right now. Look, we haven't seen a jump like this until silver went to $50. Billion-dollar stimulus, recession/depression, credit crisis led it to $50. Nowadays, trillion-dollar stimulus, recession/depression, credit crisis, but also a global pandemic. And look, it's forming the same thing, but it could be a lot. It could go a lot higher because times are much more extreme than back then. $1 trillion is a much bigger number than $1 billion. A lot bigger. So anyways, silver prices over the last 100 years, here's the historical chart. You can see last March or in 2020, it was 125 to 1, which is and will be, or that was and will be the highest or the most undervalued, the cheapest silver will ever be compared to gold. We'll be reading about that in history books. Silver will never go above 125 to 1 ever again. And I can say that pretty confidently. So anyways, the chart is plotted using average closing prices for spot silver. So the peak shown in 1980 is $36 an ounce, which is an average closing price for the month of February 1980. The peak was $49 an ounce in January. So we saw $50 silver twice, 1980 and 2011. In either case, with spot silver currently under $28, silver is definitely cheaper than it was in early 1980. That does not, however, make silver a bargain at its current price. The actual average for the price or the entire year of 1980 was $20, with the average closing price for 2021 at more than $26. And silver is more costly by an average of $5 or 24%. The two parallel lines identify a price zone for silver between $20 to $40 an ounce. The total time that silver prices were actually within that range or higher amounts to less than 5 years. Since the chart includes a total of 106 years, that means silver has traded at prices below $20 an ounce for more than 95% of the past century. Like I was saying earlier, 95% of the past century, silver prices were below $20 an ounce. And I know because I can at least say I've been posting videos on this channel for the last 6 years, almost daily videos for the last 6 years covering silver, the world of precious metals. That's why you got to be subscribed. That's pretty crazy to think about. If you guys want to know, I made my channel in July 2015. It's pretty crazy to think about. But anyways, silver's always been cheap. $15 silver. I remember the first time I saw $21 silver was the July 2016 high of $21 silver, and that was mind-blowing to me. But anyways, however, a realistic assessment of silver prices is not complete unless we consider inflation-adjusted prices, which is a good point. Here is the same chart above, but with silver prices adjusted for inflation. So you could see it does look a lot different, but you can see from 1980, it's a lot higher than 2011. In the chart above, the same parallel lines, $20 and $40 are shown. On an inflation-adjusted basis, most of the price history for silver is still under $20 an ounce. That is insane. An imaginary line at $30 an ounce compares more closely to the $20 an ounce in the first chart and reinforces how significant the recent $30 an ounce stopping point is in silver's price history. Even on an inflation-adjusted basis, silver is still more expensive than almost any other time in the past 100 years. After adding premiums for actual physical silver in various forms, the acquisition price approaches $35, $40 an ounce. Some will argue that the expectant price increases for silver will make any of this type of analysis unnecessary. However, the reasoning behind these expectations are more grounded in fantasy than actual fundamental fact. Silver supply demand gap. One of the so-called fundamentals that seem to attract unwarranted attention is the supply-demand gap in production, which is mining of silver relative to consumption. Supply and demand should be one of the most influential factors of silver prices, but you also have speculation nowadays. A single tweet from Donald Trump or someone like Elon Musk could send prices flying. Crazy to think about. We're in new times. The way you stacked silver or your strategy back in the day has to be a lot different than nowadays. You have to adjust and adapt. I even talked about that with my local coin shop owner. I actually filmed myself going in my local coin shop. He let me film our conversation, and I asked him, "You've been stacking silver for over 45 years. Is today what affects prices and your strategy the same as back then?" And he said, "Definitely not." Which is cool to hear someone who's been back then stacking to now. So he literally saw it himself firsthand, not just speculating. So the gap in consumption over production that existed in late 60s and early 70s was one of several things that contributed to much higher silver prices. But when all is said and done, and after decades of fundamental arguments about such an imbalance, silver has failed to show any further signs of need for the revaluation in price because of consumption production gaps, past or current. So, gold to silver ratio, another favorite argument tempted or trumpeted in silver's behalf, is the reliance on a return to the gold to silver ratio of 16-1. The ratio currently stands at 67 and was as high as 120 last year. Below is the chart of the ratio. 16-1. Wasn't until 1930 when he changed it from 16-1 to 75-1. Pretty crazy. And silver investors who are depending on the declining gold to silver ratio are betting that silver will outperform gold going forward. And it should, and it has been since last March. It went from 120, 125-1, whatever, all the way down to 67-1 now. Nearly cut in half, which means when the ratio's high, 120, that means that gold is a much better buy than silver. Gold's doing much better than silver. And it was. Silver was $11 back then. But now the ratio has been declining, meaning that silver has been outperforming gold dramatically since last March. You can also use the gold to silver ratio to earn free gold or free silver. It's actually pretty cool. It's very hard to trade between the two. And you have to use bullion because if you're using premiums, you'll lose a lot of money, or gold and silver. But if you guys want to know how to do it, here it is. Let's say the gold to silver ratio is 100-1. Let's say you have 1 ounce of gold and you want to trade it for 100 ounces of silver. So you go to your local coin shop and trade that 1 ounce of gold for 100 ounces of silver. So now you have 100 ounces of silver. You know, that's all you have is 100 ounces of silver. Then let's say the gold to silver ratio goes to 110-1. So now you could trade that 100 ounces of silver back to 1 ounce of gold. And now you'll have 1 ounce of gold and 10 ounces of silver. Or we could flip that the other way. Let's say you have you have 100 ounces of silver to start. You trade it for 1 ounce of gold. So now you have 1 ounce of gold. Then let's say the ratio goes up to 110. So now you could trade that ounce of gold for 110 ounces of silver. So you started with 100 ounces and now you have 110 ounces. Pretty cool stuff, but it's extremely hard to trade between the gold to silver ratio. And that's simply because who knows when it's going to peak, and because of premiums, especially nowadays. So for more than 50 years, the ratio has held stubbornly above a rising trend line, taking it to much higher levels. The Mint Act of 1792 in U.S. government arbitrarily chose 16 to 1 ratio of the prices of to silver prices. The actual price was set at $20 per ounce for gold and $1.29 for silver. That's pretty crazy to think about. So, here's some stuff. Gold to silver ratio, debunking the myth, and gold to silver ratio correlation. So I'm going to check those articles out. See if it's video worthy. So, silver, what not to expect. Don't expect silver to outperform gold. That's crazy to think about. Silver's been outperforming gold, and as we move forwards, gold doesn't benefit when the economy's doing better. Gold is only an SHTF metal when people don't trust banks or government. Silver's a monetary metal just like gold, but it's also an industrial metal. And with electric vehicles, the green energy revolution and all that, silver is going to be needed a lot more, and it's already scarce. So I don't see how you could say don't expect silver. I mean, I guess the word expect, but I definitely can expect silver to keep outperforming gold simply because moving forwards, silver has 10 times more reasons to rise than gold does. As long as the dollar continues to lose purchasing power, the price of gold will continue to move higher relative to silver. And I guess that's kind of it's a contradicting statement because silver will move with gold, but then silver takes on a life of its own beyond just the purchasing power from the demand of silver. So then silver's rising with gold, but silver's also rising from other aspects that gold simply can't and isn't. Don't expect silver's price to rise if stocks collapse. Seems like this is an interesting article. A collapse in stock prices more likely would usher in hard times economically, maybe recession or depression. Silver is primarily an industrial commodity. But it's crazy to think about. They say when stocks collapse or whatever, but then look. They even show the chart back then. Stocks collapse. Where's that chart they showed? The first chart. So that's the one with inflation adjusted. That's the gold to silver ratio. Anyways, here we go. We can go to this all time. So I guess it doesn't show past that, but regardless, let's see if it does. Nope. So regardless, 2 times stocks collapsed. There was a credit crisis. Silver exploded to $50 right here. And back in 1980. So to say that silver, how did he word this? So he worded this, silver is primarily an industrial commodity, so its price is very sensitive to economic slowdowns. So, silver does rise in times of recession/depression. So, it is very price sensitive to economic slowdowns. And actually, when the economy is doing bad or good, silver benefits because it's a monetary metal and an industrial metal. It's the best of both worlds. It's a win-win situation. Gold only benefits when things are going bad. So, it's interesting that they say this. And it's a very weird point to make. When stocks fell at the onset of the pandemic, price silver fell. And that's because you can't compare it from the pandemic. That was such a weird time. People didn't know what to do. Nobody knew what to do. The price of silver was moving up with the dollar index or down with the dollar index. I mean, it's such a weird time. For him to use that comparison just doesn't make sense and shows that he doesn't really do it. I don't know. I can't say that, but anyways, don't expect silver to rise above $30 an ounce and stay there. That would be a refutation of everything we know about silver historically. Don't expect a special circumstance or event to void any of these above. Does he not know what's happening with the green energy revolution? 5G towers, electric vehicles, silver lithium ion batteries, photovoltaic cells and solar panels, trillions of dollars thrown out, silver scarcity, Wall Street silver, almost 100,000 members. Silver is rapidly becoming more relevant. People realizing, actually, Bank of America. Who else? It was Bank of America, Citibank, Goldman Sachs, Silver Institute, all predicting $50 silver by the end of the year. So for this guy to say that silver, don't expect it to rise above $30, you have very, very reputable, accurate resources or sources saying that silver is going to be above $50 by the end of the year. Now, will it? Maybe. I definitely know it can break above 30 and it could stay above 30. Look, right now the price of silver is $28 and nothing that is benefiting silver has really started yet. It's crazy for him to say that. What should you do? I don't even want to read the rest of this almost, because this guy just doesn't. It's almost like he's looking from the past but not looking for the future. He's comparing it historically, but we've never been in a situation like this. If you want to talk about crazy high silver prices, we're living in crazy high times. And the last time it was anywhere near this was when silver was led to $50. He's trying to compare stuff like this and say this is comparison, when he needs to be looking at this and saying this is the comparison. It doesn't make sense. But anyways, and then he says if you have large amounts of wealth to protect, consider gold. It's a much better choice. When you're investing, you need to... I actually hate this guy now. If you got in early on the latest upswing and have profits, take them. No! Think about in 15, 20 years down the line what silver could be. Why would you take the profits now and sell it back to fake money? That's transferring fake money to real money and then transferring real money back to fake money. I actually hate this guy now. He made some good points with the gold to silver ratio. I still had to correct him and give a lot of context that he left out. But at the end, he definitely just didn't make sense. You can tell that he's not a true silver stacker, and he's more of a gold stacker, and he really doesn't know his stuff. If he knew heading forwards what's going to happen and how that affects the price of silver, and isn't comparing everything to this, but looking at the comparison from what's happening right now to what happened in 2011 and what happened in 1980, and why it's so similar and why it could go even further than 50 because of the amount of money we're printing, devaluing the dollar. A low dollar index means precious metals prices are higher. Yes, that means gold too, but silver will take on a life of its own beyond gold because it has industrial properties, technologically advanced in this new digital age. Silver is going to flourish while gold simply doesn't and won't. Crazy to think about. He's not looking at it from that perspective. But anyways, I'm going to wrap this video up here. If you thought this video was educational, informational, at least entertaining, make sure to smash the like button and comment and share this video. It helps the video do very well comparing to not doing any of those. So I'd really appreciate it if you did. Also, make sure you check out Silver Slayer clips if you want to get some insight on my coins, my stack as well. If you want to support the channel one step further, my PayPal and Bitcoin address are in the description below. I wanted to give, a couple different ways you could. Like I said, just watching the videos is more than enough, but donations are definitely appreciated. Thanks for tuning in. This was Silver Slayer. I'll see you guys soon. Peace.